Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim, and we talk about horror movies on this show. And in this episode, we are finally getting back to a franchise which we started in October 2017. This is the 8th film in the franchise. This is Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. How excited are you for this, Tim?
Oh, very excited. Yeah, I think we've both gone on record, no spoilers here, but we're both defenders of this movie. And I was happy to watch it again. It's been a while.
Yes. No, I was excited about getting to Part 8, and we did 7, like the last, because we were doing these at a relatively consistent basis, and then between the October-thon, because we not done our 7 at the end of September, and then we had catch up for 2018. Christmas was in the way. There was just a lot of reasons why we couldn't get back to the sequels that we were working on.
Oh, back in sequel season.
We're back in sequel season, and here we are with Friday the 13th Part 8. So, yeah. So, do we do a spoiler-free section? Do people care about spoilers for Friday the 13th Part 8? I don't know.
We could do like a quick spoiler-free just in case.
Okay.
Maybe it doesn't have to go on as long as normal, but
Yeah. So, Friday the 13th Part 8 is mostly set up on a boat, which is on its way to New York. And Jason has been resurrected at the bottom of the lake through electricity again, although not a lightning strike this time. This time, the anchor of a boat basically cuts open a power cable, which then electrocutes him and wakes him up.
Makes sense.
As you do, yeah. It makes complete sense. And then the final act of the film is in New York City, and it's Jason going through the streets, and there's toxic waste, there's all sorts of things happening. But yeah. So Tim already revealed that we both kind of like this movie. Now, does that mean it's a good movie? I'm not saying that. I would never say that. Don't be crazy. But this movie gets this bad rap of being like, this is where they completely like just shit the bed by this point, and I'm like, I don't know. I have a lot of fun with Part 8. I feel like
I think it's more fun than Part 7 for sure.
I would agree with that. I would maybe.
I like 7, but I think I think this one has more memorable moments, and it's definitely a lot of fun.
I think it's obviously better than 5 because that just goes without saying. Yeah, I think it's better than the first one.
Oh sure, yeah. No, I'm notably not super huge on the first one. Yeah,
it's
like when I think of Jason, I think of these more kind of cheesy takes on him, and this one just has a lot of that. It's a lot of fun. I think I mentioned this before because I think we talked about it when we were doing like our best of the 80s episode, probably, because this is still the 80s, right? It's not
89. This was right at the end of the 80s.
Okay, so right on the cusp. But honestly, I think like one of the reasons why people kind of hate on it is has a lot to do with the title. Because I do feel like it does. The title's a little cheesier than the other ones, which have always been kind of like New Blood, Final Chapter, and like they've been these more serious stuff. And then this is kind of
hold on. How is the New Blood not cheesy? Explain that to me.
Well, it's not. It's still like feels like horror.
Okay,
while this is like, are you referencing the Muppets movie? Like they're kind of the only other ones that have taken Manhattan.
Yes.
But I think it's like it's an easy punchline. Like the title is memorable, and it's maybe a little misleading because as everyone says, like the majority's on the boat. That he's not even in Manhattan for most of the movie, which is fair. But I think it's a bit of an easy punching bag, but then when you actually watch it, like it is so much fun. Like I do think the stuff on the boat is good, but once he gets into the city, that's when it's like full on, like, oh my god, glorious.
I'm going to go on the record here, and people might think I'm crazy for saying this. I think that he is in New York long enough to justify the title.
Oh sure, yeah.
I think that it's all about getting to the third act. He actually spends they get to New York about an hour in. And this movie is, in fact, one of my complaints to the movie is maybe it's just a little bit too long because it's 100 minutes, which isn't that long generally, but for a slasher movie, it's a bit longer. And the last 40 minutes are in New York City. It's the whole last third, maybe a little bit more than that even. So
right, yeah, and it's Jason takes Manhattan. It's not Jason lives in Manhattan or starts in Manhattan. He's taking it.
There's a trip there. There's a journey to Manhattan, and that's okay. Some people have tried to figure out the geography of how a boat in Crystal Lake gets to, New York, but that's okay. That's whatever. whatever.
Yeah, if that's your biggest problem in the movie, then maybe you should re-examine some things. Not the fact that this undead ghoul is brought to life by underwater power cables, but no, it's the geography that's the problem.
Yeah. And, I mean, if I'm going to be critical and say what are the problems with the movie, I do think the kill scenes, well, the endings of the kill scenes are some of them are quite fun. Some of the ones early on are like it's almost like they're just bored of doing the suspense. Like there's the opening like kills where he's the couple on the little boat when he wakes up. Like the girl literally just kind of hides in one place, and then he finds her, and that's it. Like there's no real game of cat and mouse or anything. It's just no, he finds her and that's it. So I mean, I critique that.
I don't think the kills on the boat are bad, but they're not as like memorable as like, you know, once you're in New York, you can kind of start listing off like the things that he does. But I feel like the ones on the boat, it's kind of just more your typical like this, that. Although there's one that I really like that we'll get to.
Yes, there's a couple of notable ones. Here's what I think goes underappreciated about this film. It actually shakes up the formula more than you think it does, because everyone's aware that Jason's on board and is killing people. They might not believe it's Jason yet, but everyone's aware that someone's on the boat killing people at the 40-minute mark, and there's still tons of people left. Like, you look at any of the other movies, you always get to that point an hour in where it's maybe like there's one pair of people left, maybe three.
Yeah.
They find out there's a killer, and then it's down to just like the one last person running away from him. Like, we get scenes in the boat where like there's like gangs of high school kids all with like weapons like hunting down Jason.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that is so different from any other movie, and they know they're trapped in the boat and it's about trying to get help, and then eventually they get to Manhattan, and then Jason's like chasing them through Manhattan, and for some reason seems to ignore, like at one point he's like chasing them through a subway train, and like at no point does he care about anyone else in the train. He's just passing them by. He's like, no, target acquired.
Yeah. That is a little strange, but again, it's like still a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, it is. Like I'm not really complaining because it's entertaining.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, just the idea of like, yeah, it's not a bunch of kids at a camp, you know, like honestly, like is it the first movie that really there's like no kind of camp element, or I guess vacation-y?
Yeah, pretty much is. Technically one or two of them haven't been the camp themselves, have been like a house by the lake, but it's still been, you know,
it still feels like camp-esque or like that same kind of, you know, situation. So yeah, I applaud them for trying to shake things up a bit.
It's kind of nuts they went from this, or they went from the camp to Manhattan, which was a fine idea, I think. And forgetting 9, which is this weird other thing, they then went to space. It went camp, Manhattan, we have to put them somewhere else. How about space? Okay, that's it. And I'm like, I feel like there's a whole ladder of locations you could climb. Like, how about Jason in the Arctic? How about Jason in the I don't know.
Mexico, spring break.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, do that. Jason and the Argonauts. I don't know, but like, there's so much you could do.
Jason goes Hawaii in there.
Yeah.
Jason visits Transylvania. Jason in Japan.
Jason on a plane.
Oh, Jason in Japan, and at the end he gets blown up, like really big, and it's like a kaiju movie. That could be fun.
Oh yeah. Or how about Jason in Japan, but he gets like a Shogun kind of helmet to go with his hockey mask.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, like Shogun Jason. We could do that.
And of course, I think the big thing that, you know, we haven't really tackled yet, time travel. Like, just, you know, it can still be, you know, similar settings, but in the past.
Oh my god, Jason in Inquisition. Jason in the future. Well, we had Jason in the future technically, but that was in space. I want Jason in a cyberpunk city.
Yeah. That could be cool.
Let's do it. Let's do all these Jason things. Stop tangling the rights up and make some more Jason movies, damn it.
Oh yeah, that's really annoying.
Yeah. So yeah, the movie's on a boat, he kills some people, he gets to New York, and it's kind of fun. Like, is it a good movie? No, it's not. But like, there's memorable scenes, there's stuff that makes me laugh. The characters are just as stupid as they always have been, if not worse. You know, they're these stereotypes right at the end of the 80s. You've got the rocker hair metal girl, you've got the nerdy camera guy, you've got the boxer athlete, you know.
And the like over the top mean teacher who's just like had enough of these kids. And...
Yeah. He was cracking me up though. He's got a couple of moments that really make it so. And then one of the kids happens to, because it's this field trip for the senior class before they graduate. They're on this little trip to New York, and the captain on the boat happens to be one of the kids' dads, and he's like really upset that his son's not like learned more about naval duties, because he's like, hey son, you can be the acting captain on this voyage. Why don't you take out the ship? And he's like annoyed that he's forgotten, like you're supposed to, like, you know, air the horn and, you know, use the radio to, you know, tell everyone else that you're moving and everything else. I don't know, it's weird, but like you've got all these characters. They are forgettable. Like I feel like, you know, some of the main characters in Friday the 13th are likable enough that they're kind of like the main girl in this is just kind of a blank slate. She's nothing. She's afraid of drowning. She's just, you know, she's afraid of water. She has visions of child Jason. We'll get to the reveal of what caused that. And spoilers. And you know, then you've got then the captain's son's like her love interest, and then that's pretty much it. Everyone else is just fodder for the killings, which is fine. Which is totally fair. It's a Friday the 13th movie, but yeah. So no, you get some great visuals of Jason in Manhattan. Like at one point he's walking in Times Square, and there's like a big Batman symbol behind him because the Batman movie was coming out, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, did they have to like make sure that was okay? Like, I wonder if there's like some copyright rules about like just filming like in a place like Times Square where there's just lots of advertising. It's like,
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it is Paramount, so I assume they just cleared everything. They just said, okay, right, you can read the McDonald's logo. Let's just make sure with McDonald's it's okay with it, and so on.
Yeah, there was definitely like cool stuff though, like seeing in the background. Like, I always like seeing those kind of old, like, oh, that's what, like, you know, a Burger King sign or a Coca-Cola sign used to look like. Oh, it's kind of neat. Yeah,
you're saying it's got a time capsule quality to it now. It's got historical records that must be preserved.
Yeah. And you know, I think I mentioned it before, like whenever we do like a, you know, movie set in New York in the 80s, but I just love like how like dangerous the city feels. Like it just feels like it's run by like gutter punks and like people with switchblades, and like you mentioned earlier, there's just toxic waste everywhere.
Yeah, there's literally barrels of toxic waste just like sitting around alleyways, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I never visited New York in the 80s because I wasn't born, but I'm fairly certain that there wasn't just barrels of toxic waste sitting around.
Yeah, I'm pretty. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. That that's not the case.
So, which by the way, toxic waste in this movie is just slightly green water, just for the record.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, spoilers, just in case if you care. Yeah. Spoilers for the movie. What would you like to talk about first, Tim?
I mean, maybe we should kind of cover what we want on the boat first before kind of delving into the meat.
I guess I'll start with saying I actually really like how Jason looks in this movie. He's so wet and like grungy looking the whole time.
Ken Hodder, right?
Yeah, Ken Hodder. This is his second movie.
Yeah, he does a great job. I love you know, his it is a weird thing to like, you know, critique the portrayal of Jason, but you know, I don't know, that there's something that he brings to it that is just like really fun. I think especially in this movie, and like you said, there is like kind of this gross, damp quality to the way he looks, which is interesting.
Yeah, he looks good. Yeah, the stuff in the boat is like, I mean, it's basically just a series of kills, you know, and then they realize that something's going on, so they start panicking. And at one point, I think one of my favorite ones on the boat is when he throws the one jock onto like the control board and like one of the and he just bursts into flames like immediately for some reason. I don't know why.
It's great. I think my favorite is the what was he using? Is it like a hot coal or a hot stone or like something?
Oh yeah, from the sauna room. There's like a sauna room with like hot stones. Yeah, the coals.
And like he just like shoves it in like that one like dude's like stomach. It's just like a cool, interesting like visual, and you know, it's nice like just seeing like something like that as opposed to like, oh yeah, we've seen like the beginning when they kill those like two people on the boat or whatever. They basically just like stabs them with like, was it like harpoon or something or metal rod or whatever.
Yeah, he actually, like, to be specific, he misses with the harpoon gun and then just stabs him with the actual harpoon gun itself. He just I'll just ram this into your stomach.
Which at first made me think like, wait, was this one in 3D as well? Because it looked like it was going for like a straight at the camera. Like, oh, no. But yeah, it's cool that when they kind of do like a couple of different things like that, and it gets pretty brutal, which is nice. Like it definitely, I feel like sometimes in some of the other movies you get like even when you have like a stabbing or something, it feels like it's just like, ooh, like a quick stab and then it's done. Like some of the kills in here are like seem like they go a little above and beyond just to be like a little extra brutal.
Yeah, there's like a subplot where the sort of blonde cheerleader type basically lures the shithead teacher, who's the uncle of the main character and is the guardian of the main character because her parents are dead. She lures him into a bedroom and like sort of gets on top of him, has the nerdy kid with the camera film it so that she's got blackmail material so that he won't report that he caught her with drugs. Which, by the way, the teenagers in this school doing hard cocaine. Just like...
It's like such like a convoluted plot where it's like like, oh, like I'm gonna seduce the teacher, but I don't really. But it seems like it's obviously like, oh, we just need to get like a little skin in this movie.
Yeah, my favorite part though is that when Jason kills her, because it's just like in her like room. She's in like the bathroom in her little room in the ship. She's wearing just like a a bathing gown, or not bathing gown, a bathrobe. That's what I'm trying to say. Bathrobe. I'm forgetting words. English speak maybe sometimes. So basically, he grabs her like through the door or through the wall, and he's grabbing onto her robe. And she just kind of like runs out of the robe and is completely naked. It really made me laugh. It was just kind of like, oh, I'll escape by naked.
Yeah.
Then he kills her anyway, but like, that stuck out to me as a beat.
And then like I always forget like this. Well, I guess maybe not forget, but I just don't think about it. But like the whole boat sinks. Like it's not like. Like I always just like remember, oh yeah, and then they get to Manhattan, but it's it almost seems like at a point like that could be the end of the movie, because it's like a lot of people have died, and then like this whole like the whole ship is going down.
Yeah, basically like it goes from being a whole class of like teenagers to just being the two leads, the boxer dude, and then the two teachers, and that's it.
Yeah,
like that's all that's left. And the second teacher, the woman teacher, who's like friendly enough with the main character that she like hugs her at the start and gives her a present. Okay, whatever. I mentioned Stephen King, by the way. He's like, oh, this is the fountain pen that Stephen King used. And then the fact that she's a writer never comes up again in the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's like never mentioned again, the fact that she's meant to be an aspiring writer. Like, why did we set this up? Why does she have a fountain pen from Stephen King? I don't.
Yeah, it feels strange, but like at least use the fountain pen to like stab him in the eye or something like at some point. But
yeah, but so it's just them that survive. So a lot of kids have died by this point, but they get to Manhattan and they're immediately mugged. Like immediately these two punks come out and like mug them and then kidnap the main girl to rape her in an alleyway, but dope her up first. Which I thought the movie kind of oddly glossed over the fact that they did give her drugs. They injected her. Yeah.
No, that it's kind of insane.
And she doesn't really react from it for the rest of the movie. It's not like when because Jason is kind of a hero in this scene. He comes in and like almost like inadvertently saves her by killing the bad guys, and stabs them with a syringe, which satisfying. Yeah. But like I'm like, she should be high as shit for the next like while. But so when the other characters come and get her, and she's like, I was expecting her to be like like slouched on his shoulder or something. And, but no, she's just completely fine.
And drugs weren't as strong back then.
Well, that was the other thing. He said, I think there's like a line where he's like, "Oh, it was only a half measure" or something like that. But I'm like, yeah, but if she's never had any before, like she doesn't strike me as someone who's injecting herself on a regular basis. I'm fairly certain that it'll hit her hard.
Maybe we didn't see it, but maybe she did some of the cocaine on the boat, and then maybe it kind of balanced her out.
yeah. Does cocaine balance out heroin? You tell me.
Well, I mean, I don't know from experience, but I do think cocaine is more of makes you more hyper, and I think heroin kind of slows you down a little bit more. So maybe. Yeah.
I don't feel like trying to balance out with those two is a good idea. You could just maybe not take either, and you'd be equally balanced out. Just a thought.
Oh, we'll see. That's a fun science experiment. Give a try.
So, Yeah, so yeah, the woman teacher just dies really weirdly. So eventually a cop shows up because the teacher's like, I'm going to go get a police officer, and he shows up, and they eventually see the head of the boxer. We'll get to that scene in a minute. We're not glossing over that, but
So good.
the cop gets killed by Jason, and they're stuck in the back seat. But the lead girl climbs in the front and hits him with the car, and it sets on fire. It's going to explode, and they grab, you know, the teacher and the boyfriend grab her at the car. And then the young teenager guy's like, oh wait, Mrs. whatever her name is, the other teacher, he turns around, the car explodes, she's dead. I'm like, oh, that was great, that was a good job. And it's during this scene, right after the explosion, where our main character's looking at a puddle and has a flashback. I mean, maybe this is the heroine, maybe this is what the drugs do to her. She's flashbacking in really tense moments. We get a flashback to what's caused her fear of water. Basically, she couldn't swim as a kid, and her uncle took her out to Crystal Lake. Again, the timeline of these movies is like all over the place. Like what year are we meant to be in now? Like,
is this supposed to be like 98 or something? Like something crazy like that?
I think so. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you add up all the the 5 years and 2 years later. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like 2005 by this point. But like, we have this flashback as her as a kid, and he's like trying to teach her how to swim, which he does by pushing her into the water. He literally shoves her off the boat into the water, and then okay, it's one thing if you're going to try and tell her like how to swim. He doesn't. He just keeps yelling at her, "You can do it. You can swim. Swim." How about tell her how to swim? Maybe like, you know, say, hey, try and, you know, move your arms back. You know, try and stroke. You know, do a forward stroke kind of thing. Right. Try and, you know, don't struggle, like your body weight kind of like let you float kind of thing. Give her some pointers. Actually explain swimming in some way. No, he just yells at her, "Swim, damn it, swim, you little shit." And then she's terrified of water for the rest of her life.
Yeah. And maybe like don't drop her in a lake where she can like sink to the bottom, like because you know, I have heard like you know, people mentioned that before, where it's like, oh yeah, sometimes like the best way to learn how to swim is just to jump in the water and stuff. It's like, sure, if you're in like a small like regulated pool where people are watching you and like can grab you and stuff, like, yeah, just throwing them like in the middle of a lake is probably not the best idea. And
of course, he's also yelling that Jason lives at the bottom of the lake and can come up and grab you if you don't swim. That's the other thing he's saying.
Yeah.
So yeah. But let's go back to the boxer scene, because we can't gloss over that.
This is maybe like, honestly,
the best scene.
And not even that, but like could be maybe one of my favorite kills of the whole franchise. I love this.
Do you know what? I'd forgotten about it, because I remembered, you know, the box, because earlier on we see that he's boxing the other students and he's really good, right? He's never lost. Yeah. And he's running away from Jason. He ends up on a roof next to a busy street, and like Jason's come up behind him and he's like, you know what, I'm going to box you. And I remembered that he boxes him a little bit, and then Jason just knocks his head off. He just punches his head right off, and it's just a stupid over the top moment. It's great. And his head, you know, rolls over the building onto a dumpster and yada yada. Really good stuff. But you know what really makes it work, what makes it amazing, is I've forgotten how long the actual boxing before he does it was.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It's like it's a solid minute of him punching Jason in the face.
No, I love it. Like, first of all, you know, it's great to see him actually being, you know, proactive and not just, you know, trying to run away and stuff. And then, yeah, he actually puts up a decent, you know, amount of a fight, and almost feels like you're watching a boxing movie for a second. Like, this could be in a Rocky where, you know, you have the like the person that maybe isn't as good, but he has like so much spirit, and he just kind of keeps at him. He's like, come on. And then, yeah, I like that he just finally, and it's kind of like shot too cool too. Like they're doing like over the, you know, whatever you call it, like bird's eye view kind of shots of like from up above.
Yeah, there's a bird's eye view shot. There's also like almost like a silhouette wide shot of like just the city behind him as he's like punching Jason. And it's basically this thing where, you know, every time he punches him, he moves back a little bit, but he's getting tired. By the time he finishes the scene, he's like barely hitting them. He's like, you know, and his hands are all bloody because he's been hitting the hockey mask, and he's out of breath, and he's barely been able to swing anymore. But he must punch him like 20 times at least.
Yeah.
And Jason just takes it. Jason doesn't try to fight back. He just stands there and takes it, and then eventually just punches his head off in one hit.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It is an amazing scene. I can't.
and it's like that already is great and over the top, but then yeah, it's just like they go the extra mile to show the head rolling down, landing in the dumpster lid closing for some reason. You know? And it's like so funny, but yeah, man, I absolutely love this scene.
It's phenomenal. And this is not to mention just all the fun of like Jason just walking through the subway, walking through Times Square,
Yeah,
kicking the boom box, scaring the shit out of punks.
yeah, that's kind of like a weird scene. It's like these punks that are like threatening him, and then it's like he could easily kill them, but instead he's like, I'm just gonna give him a scare, and takes off
Yeah.
his mask. And like it's which yeah, you can like argue the logistics of that, like why he wouldn't want to kill him, but it is actually like very funny. Like the comedic timing of it is great.
Yeah, I think at this point, if you're annoyed because it's taking, it's making some fun of itself, it's poking,
Right, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not taking itself seriously, then I feel like you're out of the franchise at this point, and that's fine. That's
Yeah.
totally fine. I will say the 14 on Metascore that I'm seeing here on IMDb, I do not agree with. How dare you?
14
14.
out of 100, that is insane.
Yeah.
We gotta bump that up.
Come
You gotta
on.
call the Screams army needs to get into action.
We need to get our review scores on the Metacritic. Let's affect the score, damn it. I like
And-
it was just so much fun. And so yeah, after this, they eventually it's just the couple, and there's like fun scenes where they go through
Yeah.
a diner, and like Jason's just coming through the diner, and like everyone's just kind of in shock and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they eventually go into the subway. Jason gets electrocuted on the subway tracks, but he gets back up, of course.
I mean, electricity. He loves electricity. It brings him back.
Exactly. And they eventually end up in the sewers, and they run into like the guy working down there, and they're like, "Oh, can you help us get out of here?" And he's like, "Oh, of course I can, but we have to hurry because it's almost midnight, and every night at midnight, the sewers get flooded with toxic waste."
Yeah. Which, I mean, any sewer maintenance worker will tell you that's how sewers work.
Yes. So they have to go on the run, and that's how they eventually kind of win. Is that Jason's in the sewers and they're up a ladder, and the toxic waste hits him. However, he turns into a little boy. He turns into young Jason.
Yeah, it's like it's supposed to be like the opposite of the toxic waste that turned the Ninja Turtles, because it's like it's supposed to make you become more powerful, not revert you back to being a kid. But
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. And then the movie ends. Actually, John, another thing I love that I didn't mention is I love the opening titles. As this like 80s track starts playing, you've got the announcer on the radio, and
sure.
the opening titles are just like shots in New York and the music playing over it. But again, it's very grungy, because we didn't mention the teacher. Jason kills him by putting him in one of those barrels of toxic waste.
yeah, which like again, it's like, all right, so not only is toxic waste flooding the sewer system every night, but yeah, there's just barrels of it as well. And like and again, just going back to like kind of how brutal this movie is, like it's like he could easily have just strangled the teacher or just drowned him, but just to hold him over this barrel of toxic waste, and he's just like constantly flailing, and Jason just holding him there. It's it's very funny.
It's delightful, is what it is. It's delightful. This is a feel-good romp of a movie, and
Definitely.
I will hear nothing of it. And at the end, the dog shows up. The dog ran away earlier, but the dog's okay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
Forget about that.
yeah. I feel like there was no point in having the dog even there, just other than having this feel-good moment at the end where the dog came back and was okay. It somehow found them again in a city of however many million people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let the cat out.
Yeah.
Continue.
Okay. Yeah, there isn't much point to that, but yeah, it is a nice feel-good moment. But honestly, yeah, like this really is like one of my favorites of the series. Like it is super goofy and ridiculous, but I kind of like that in a Friday the 13th movie. That's everyone can kind of have their personal take on it. Maybe if you do like maybe the more serious takes or whatever, but I feel like it's always a little cheesy at the very least. And I like that they're kind of going full swing on it. And there's a lot of really good kills. Yeah, I think maybe the one complaint, like you mentioned, is maybe it's a little long. Like, probably could have trimmed it up a little bit. But I mean, other than that, though, I think it's a really solid entry.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. Like, it's one of those things where it's got this reputation for being the first dumb one, and I'm like,
Yeah.
guy, like 9 is like so much worse. Like, obviously, that's the next one we'll be doing is Jason Goes to Hell, and I am not looking forward to rewatching that. That is the only one in the franchise that I absolutely am upset that I have to rewatch, because like the rest of them, I can tolerate to, if not quite like, and I like most of them.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, 9 is definitely tough. I really don't like 5.
it's better than 9.
Yeah, I give it that.
It's better than 9. So no, I love it. It's a good time. And there's so many little beats, like, you know, like the acting in the couple at the start's really bad, where he's like telling her, he sits down and he's like, oh, this is that lake as well where all those murders happen. And she's like, murders? What murders? Oh, you want to hear about it? Then don't bring it up then, you shithead. Okay, sure, he might just be setting up for the fact that he's got a hockey mask and he wants to pretend to kill her. Which actually, which bugged me, because he jumps out wearing the hockey mask and he stabs her with like a retractable knife that's, you know, fake. And but she still kind of reacts. She throws her head back as if she's actually in like great pain, and then realizes, wait, oh no, wait, it's not real. And I'm like, I get that you might take a second to realize that it's not a real stabbing, but you wouldn't actually feel the pain. You would just kind of like, oh wait, what? But she throws her head back like any other kill. It was weird. Which, by the way, convenient there was a hockey mask, a fresh hockey mask, waiting for him on the boat after he gets up. Which I'm not complaining. I just, you know, it's funny.
Fair. Who doesn't want to get a few rounds of hockey in when they're on a boat?
Yeah. And of course, there's the billboard moment when he gets to New York at first, and because that's the thing, Jason swims to New York. He swims from the boat to New York because he hasn't got a little life raft. He's just swims. He just gets out of the pier, and that's him there.
Yeah.
All right.
Kind of reminds me of I think it was an episode of the X-Men animated series where the Juggernaut was like in the bottom of the ocean. And he basically just walked along the bottom until he came up to the shore.
Oh dear. The ocean's pretty deep, though. I mean.
Oh yeah, I've heard it's deep.
It's very deep. There's so much thought into it, man.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh dear. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're going to complain about this movie, I think it's a little bit long. The characters aren't that memorable. But the actual Jason stuff is mostly a blast. And
without a doubt.
And if that's what you're looking for in a Friday the 13th sequel, like, I don't know why you can't love this movie. I really don't.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I have a soft spot for it, so I guess we're ready to rate it. But Tim, what you rating Friday the 13th Part 8? Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, I mean, again, I really like this. I have so much fun. I'm gonna give it a 7.5, actually, really high. But I feel like I can't go over that a little bit just because, you know, it's still, you know, like a cheesy, goofy movie. It's not a necessarily like well made, and yeah, there are a few nitpicky stuff here and there, but otherwise though, it's just such a solid blast. Like if I am doing a rewatch of the series, like this is, you know, one of the high points. Like this is one of the ones I always get excited for.
I agree. That number may be a bit high for, even though I think I like it just as much as you. I think I was coming into this going to give it a 6. Because I just feel like that's as fair as I can be, but still give it a positive score. Because I can't, you know, it's not actually a good movie. I just have a blast with it. So I'm going to give it a 6, but I think we actually like it about the same. I think I just take my numbers a bit more seriously than you do.
Hey man, I can't put a number on enjoyment.
That boxing scene's like a 10.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's part 8. So yeah, we've been working through a bunch of sequels, bunch of franchises, and we're going to try and go through the rotation again of them now. We're working our way through Hellraiser, through Scream. We've got one more Howling left. We got the Critters movies we're working our way through. Leprechaun we started, so we need to get back to that. We're going to be rotating through all of these as quick as we can, assuming new movies don't come in and take the slots. And obviously we also have the Patreon vote episodes to do, but We're doing our best, and we'll keep that going. But you can let us know what you think of the movie in the comments. You can like and subscribe, all the usual stuff. It's obviously worth mentioning patreon.com/MailFledgeTV, because over there you can support us for as little as $1 per month, and for that $1 you get a bonus episode of Screams After Midnight per month. The $5 tier, you also get to vote an episode once per month. So you can go over to Patreon and support us over there and get some bonuses. Get us on Twitter at Screams Midnight, and follow us on there. We usually have some fun tweeting out from there, and then other than that, like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. All that stuff does help, but keep watching scary movies is basically my main thing.
Sure, yeah.
But that's us. Also, I'm delighted to say that our copyright strike on one of the episodes we had recently, it'll be a while before this episode goes up, admittedly, but so this will be old news, but it got lifted. The strike was removed because it was a bullshit claim.
Cool.
So the hole in the ground is back, the review is back on YouTube. But there you go. So that is. I should also mention, we have a new sci-fi movie podcast. Not me and Tim. It's me and Tara on the channel on YouTube. Also, it's called the ACE, the Atomic Cinema Experiment podcast, and you can find that the audio feed for it, or you can find it on YouTube and check out the sci-fi equivalent to Screams After Midnight.
Ooh, what are some of the movies you've done so far?
We did The Day the Earth Stood Still. We did Bumblebee. We did Altered States. That's all I can tell you so far.
Okay, interesting. All right.
Interesting, yeah. That was the original Day the Earth Stood Still, by the way, not the Keanu remake from 2000 something.
Oh, never mind then.
Oh, I'm not interested then.
Yeah.
And it is worth mentioning, if you're into that show as well, you also get a bonus episode of that every month for your $1 on Patreon. So go check that out. But otherwise, that is it. So thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, and please be aware of the toxic waste problem in New York City. It'll take all hands on deck. This is a great problem. It's a great social problem that we all have to band together to deal with. But we have to curb toxic waste out of the city. Let's get rid of it. Poor mass serial killers are dying every day to toxic waste in New York City. So get on that, people. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you next time.